Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. So today we will be diving into Prisma ORM. So basically Prisma ORM allow developers to be able to access and modify their database. So we will look at how we can create models in Prisma, how to run migrations in Prisma, how we can integrate Prisma with Next.js framework, which is a popular framework for developing full stack application. Then how we can run Prisma queries inside of Next.js. So let's get started. So first thing we need to do, as always, we need to create a new Next.js project. So to do that, we can run npx create next app at latest. Then let's name our application Prisma app. Then we definitely want to use TypeScript always. Then ESLint yes, Tailwind yes. So we are presently creating our new Next.js project now. So we've successfully created our new Next.js project. What we need to do now is to open this project in our code editor. Yes. So after we've opened the project in our code editor, next thing we need to do is to install Prisma. So to install Prisma, we need to run the command npm install -t Prisma. So after installing Prisma, we need to initialize Prisma. So during this initialization process, Prisma will create a folder for us inside our project directory called Prisma, which has a file called schema. So that schema file is where we will create all our database model and configure our database provider, whether we are using MySQL, Postgres, or SQLite. But what we can do for this tutorial, we will be using MySQL. So during the initialization process, npx prisma init, we can specify which data source provider we want to use. So as I mentioned earlier, for this tutorial, we will be using MySQL. But by default, Prisma supports Postgres as their default data source provider. So since we are using MySQL, we need to pass in an argument for data source provider. Then we specify our data source provider to be MySQL. There we click enter. So if we check here now, Prisma created this Prisma folder for us. Let's open this schema file and see what it contains. So as you can see, this is for the Prisma client.js. Then the data source provider, we are using MySQL. Then since we are using MySQL, we need to configure our database connection string here. So Prisma already created this database URL environment variable for us inside of this env file, which we may need to modify based on our connection detail. So my MySQL connection username is root, then password. This is what I use locally. Then let's say the database we will be working with will be called blog. Then we save this one, right? Then we head over to our schema. So let's say we want to create a basic user model, right? So in Prisma, we can do model user. Then we want to set an ID as a primary key for this user, right? It can be int. Then we use the @id. Then we need to specify that this is basically an auto increment field. Then we can specify the username. This can be a string. Then we wanted to capture the date their account was created at, right? So this is date time. Then we can specify a default value for this. So whenever a user account is being created, we wanted to get the current date time on our server automatically and store it inside of this created at time. So we need to set a default for it. Then we can then say now. Then also we can add another column here. Let's say we want to capture their email. This can be string, and each user email needs to be what? Unique, right? Then here we need to know as well when the user information is being updated, the actual date time, right? So we can do updated at, then we specify date time. Then now Prisma also provide a simple way to do this. We can either use this at default now, it still works, or we can just do at updated at. This also works, right? So now, since we are creating a blog application, a simple blog application, we need to create a model where we can be storing users' blogs, for example. So we can call that table post, right? So let's say model post. Then we need an ID for this post as well, a unique identifier, right? So basically with post, user will be accessing this post on the front end side of the application. They will be clicking on the post, view post, for example. So here you don't want to specify the ID as an auto increment value. There is something we call UUID, and we have a more better version which is basically called CUID. So we'll set this field as a string instead of int. Then we do at default, then we specify CUID here. So then we need to specify that this is our primary key field at ID. The next thing we need to specify is the post title. Let me just do post. Then this is string. Then also, if we want to use the database default field, we can do at db.v. We can call it at db, string at db dot. Then we need this to be a varchar field, right? So we can be able to extend the length. Because with string field, for example, it can only hold 191 characters. But if we use the db.varchar field, we can be able to specify how much character we want our field to be able to hold, the post title field. So we can do db.varchar varchar. Then we specify 255 characters for this. Then we do post content. So this is string as well, but for this field we can specify at db.text, so it can hold more characters, right? Then we need to store the date the post was posted, date posted. This is date time. Then we need to specify default. Then we do now. Yeah. So basically, after doing this, now we have our user table and we have our post table, right? We've been able to create this. So what we need to do now, so for every user, they can be able to create multiple blog posts, right? So this is one-to-many relationship. So for us to be able to specify this one-to-many relationship in Prisma, what we need to do is to basically take this post table here and create a new field here called posts. Then the data type for this field will be post, an array of posts, right? Because a user can be able to create multiple posts, right? Then inside of our post, we need to create two fields called user ID and user. So this user ID basically represents this ID of the user with data type of int, right? Then this user represents this user model, right? Then we need to specify the relation between this user ID field and this model user field. So to do that, we need to call at relation, then we do fields, then we say user ID, then we specify which field the user ID references. So the user ID references this ID field inside of user, right? At relation fields, sorry, this should relations, yes, exactly. So user, right? So the relationship between user and post is basically tied to this user ID inside of post, and it references the ID inside of the user model, right? So after creating this user and post model, what we need to do, we need to run migration. So what migration does is create the changes we've done to this Prisma schema, generate a migration file. So when working on a project, sometimes you do have a separate database locally where you do changes. Then you have to push this to production, which is the live instance that users are using. So if you've done some modification to your database locally, you need to generate this, you need to generate migration, you need to run migration to be able to generate a migration file. So when you push the code to the production server, you can then be able to run the migration you created locally, and it will automatically create all the changes you've done locally on the production server, which make it more easier and efficient for developers to be able to manage database changes both locally and on the production server. So now let's see how migration works, right? So first, let's head over to my MySQL instance. I'll need to log into the console, MySQL -u -p, enter my password. Now if we run the command show databases, see, I only have few databases here, right? There is no database called blog. Okay, in a second, let's just run the Prisma migration, right? Let's do npx Prisma migrate dev, right? We click enter. So Prisma will ask us to specify a name for this migration. Since this is the first migration we are running, I will name it initial migration and click enter. So when we click enter, if you notice, Prisma creates a migration folder for us with the current date time here. If we click on this migration, inside of there, we'll see a migration.sql file, which basically creates the actual SQL code which needs to be executed to create the changes we just did in our local database. You can see we have a table for user post, and we alter table post, we add constraint post user ID as foreign key. Prisma handle all of this for us. So now let's check our MySQL to see now if we have the blog database here. So as you can see, Prisma have created the blog database for us. Then let's say use blog. We wanted to see the tables inside of the blog database. So if we do show tables, you see we have post and we have user table inside of our blog database. As you can see, tables in blog database. Then also we have a table called Prisma migration. So this table basically help us to be able to keep track of our migrations when using Prisma. So it's been created automatically by Prisma when we run our first migration. So let's head over to our code editor now. So we've successfully created our models, we've run our migration, and we've successfully created the blog database, and also our user and post table has successfully been created. So what we need to do now, Prisma also provide an interface called Prisma Studio, which we can be able to use to input data. So to be able to do that, we need to run npx Prisma Studio. This is it, right? So we have user post. So let's say we want to work with the user table, right? We click on user. So let's say we want to add a new user here, right? We say add record, username, let's say I'll just put in a similar there. So we've saved. If we refresh, we've successfully added a user here. So if we want to check as well to ensure the changes has been done in our table as well, just so we can be sure, we do select all from user. See, we have one record here. Okay. So now we want to integrate Prisma now with Next.js, like just build a simple blog application where we can be able to read blog posts from our database displayed to the user. Then a user should be able to create a blog post. Right. To do that, let me just stop this Prisma Studio. Okay. So let's run the Next.js server, npm run dev. So we head over to our browser and go over localhost 3000. So we need to do a little bit of cleaning here. We need to remove all of this. We need to remove this Next.js default template. So to do that, we head over to our app page and then we just swipe this out. Okay, we save, then global.css, we remove all this. Save again. So we now have a blank page. Nice. So now what we are going to do, we are going to create a folder called components here. Then inside of component, we can have like a UI folder. Then inside of UI, we create a navbar component. So let's just create a simple navigation bar. Then we do return div. Then we have another div here, class name. We do width full, then PG black, container MX auto window. So I already have a video on my channel in case you want to know how to create a a responsive navigation bar. You can check it out. Flex, justify between, then we do link here. Then we say blog href homepage, then class, give it a class name, text to Excel, font family we use mono. Yeah, so we need to import link from Next, import link from Next/link. Yes, so we save this one. So we head over to our homepage component and we import the navbar. We save. Let's try to view this in our browser. Yeah, so we have something like this now, right? So we need to set a padding here for, then we specify text white. Head over to our browser now. We have our blog. So let's just add a button here, just a single one, because we will be adding a post. We will be creating a form here, and we have a button here where a user can just click on like add post, and it takes them to the add post form. So let's just add a button there. So let's just do button. Here we do add post class py2, specify padding x4, then bg gradient to r from, let's say, purple 400 to, maybe we use something like pink 300. Let's check our navbar out, add post. Then we need to do rounded here. Yes, so this is okay. Now we have our button here, add post, right? So now we need to create a card component for displaying our blocks here, right? So to do that, we head over to our component directory, new file, we say card.tsx. Then we move this card inside of our UI directory, right? Export default function, we do card, then we do return, then we have our div, say class rounded lg, then shadow, we do shadow neutral, let's see 300. Yes, okay, then we specify a padding for this one, let's say p4. Then let's just do h3 here. This will be our blog title. Text, let's say Excel font mono. Then this will be the blog content. Say class name. We do text sm. Yes, we do text sm. Then maybe we add margin here, margin top, we say 2. Okay, so for us to be able to see what this component look like, we need to pass it inside of our page. We need to import it inside of our home component here. So, but first, what we need to do, let's head over to the browser. We need to basically have like 3 columns here. So we want to organize the blog post in grid format, right? So for us to do that, we need to do a div here, class name, container, then we do mx02, then div.grid, then we're doing 3 columns, equals 3, yep. Then let's call our card component now. Let's see what it looks like. Okay, so we have this card component. So what we need to do here, container, add a little bit of margin top. Let's see 10. Let's see what. Yeah, this is perfect. So we need to add a button here, right? But then what we need to do, since we already have like this button, maybe we can just create it as a component that we can be able to use it in different places in our application, different components in our application. So we need to create this now as a component, right? So let's head over to component. Okay, move view. We do button.tsx, right? They'll move it inside of UI. Yeah. Export default function button. Maybe I can. Okay, this is still okay. We do return. So we need to get this button here on our navbar. Button here, delete this one, then we do this, right? So maybe you can just do this as constant button, our function. Yep, okay. So we need to pass in some props here, right? So we need the title here. We need children. Let's do children. Then we need the function to handle the handle click. Okay, this we can leave for now. Let's just do rest. One more dot. Okay, so we need to define an interface for our button. Interface I button. Then children. We can specify React node for this one. Yes. Then we do I button here. So this solve our issue. Okay, we save. Then inside of our navbar we can just do button now. Then we do add post here. So we need to save this button here. Then navbar we do import button. Yep, we save. Then inside of our card here we do a div. Then we say button. Then we say read more. Then we give it a class name, margin top 2, so we can have a little bit of spacing between the blog content and the button here. So as we can see, we have this nice looking card. So maybe okay, I think this one is okay. Yep. Okay, so we now have our card, right? So what we need to do now, we need to create a form so user can be able to add a new blog post. Then we can then display this blog post here on the homepage of our blog, right? Okay, so let's head over to here first. We want when a user click on this button add post, it should take them to a new route, which will be post/add post, right? So since we are using the Next.js app router, what we need to do, we need to create a folder called post. Then inside of this folder called post, we create a folder called add post, right? Inside of add post now, we create our page.tsx. So here we need to do export default function add post, right? So this is a server component. Whenever you see a Next.js component without use client directive up here, it's basically a server component, right? So we need to return this one here. Yes. So we can do div here, class name, container, then we do mx auto, margin top, we do 10. Then we do our form now, right? Yep. So what I need to do, let's just have a card here. Div dot ROE rounded, yes. Shadow neutral, let's say 400. So it will be like a little bit gray, the card. Then we specify, okay, this one. Then we now have our form, right? Then we do a div here. We need to have an input for allowing the user to type in their post title, then a text area field for them to be able to write whatever content they want to write. So here we do our input here, type text, class name, rounded, focus, outline on. Then let's just see what this look like. So for now, let's just do here post/add post. Here we have this card here. Then we also need the navbar here, right? So we need to import the navbar inside of the post component. So just get this off. We do this. Yes. And then we import our navbar here. So let's just have a look. Yes. Okay. Then we have this. So let's create our form now. We've already done that. Div yes. Then we need to do border. Okay, this is our input, right? Then we need to do some spacing. Let's remove this here. Let's just do some yes. Okay. We add a placeholder. enter our post title. Then we need to specify the width, w full, to take up the full width of its container. Yes, exactly. Then we need to specify a padding. We say p4. Let's just see. Nice. It's a little bit big, so let's just do p2. Yes. Refresh. This is nice, right? Then here I don't think we need anything here. So we do another div. Text area now. Name, content. Let's remove the ID. Placeholder. Enter your content here. Then class name w full. Then border. We do rounded. Then it's just the same with this one. We just copy this so we can move faster. We paste this one. We save. Yeah, so let's just give the form a little bit of padding. Class name, let's say p4. Yes. Then a little bit of spacing between. Okay, this is already here. Then div. So let's just have a look. Yeah, this is better, right? Then we can then add our button. Yep. Then we add our button. Button here, then we say submit. Then we do import button here from component UI/button. So let's just have a look. Nice. So this. So maybe if we want, we can increase the height of this content area, but I think it's okay this way. Yep. So now we need to be able to allow the user to enter a post title here and a post content. Then when they hit submit, it should get stored on the MySQL database. Prisma should get the data and get it stored in the MySQL database. So for us to be able to do that, we need to make use of what we call server action in Next.js, which basically help us to process our form submit request by generating an API for us in the background. Initially, what we used to do is to basically create an API with Next.js and then basically get like fetch or Axios post that data to that endpoint. But with server action, it basically do that for you under the hood. It creates the API for you. Then you just need to connect it to your form. So we need to create a server action, right? So for us to do that, okay, we've already got this. So let's create a directory here called actions, right? Then we create a file called actions.ts. Then for server action, we need to indicate use server here. This one's on the server. So we'll do export async function add post, right? Let me just do it this way. post. Yeah, right. So let's head back over to our form. For this input, we need to specify a name, right? Then let's say title, content, then submit, right? We save all. Okay. So we head over to our actions now. So what basically we need to do, we need to get the form data when it's submitted, right? From the add post form, right? Then for us to be able to type this form, we already have form data typing for the data we get in from the form. So we just call this form data type and pass it to our form data, right? So now what we basically need to do now, we want to use Prisma to basically create this record for us, right? But for us to be able to use the Prisma client, we first need to install the Prisma client. We've already installed Prisma, but then we need to install the Prisma client to be able to generate for us like automated type safe queries. So for us to install the Prisma client, we can do npm install at prisma/client. Then after installing the Prisma client, we need to do npx prisma generate. So it will basically generate, we based on the model we have, it will basically generate all the type safe feature for us based on the model we have. So whenever you make changes to your models here in your schema, you basically need to run this npx prisma generate so that the client library can be able to generate typing for these models, right? So we do npx prisma generate. Okay, so we've already done that. Now we need to configure Prisma client now to be able to use it with Next.js, right? So they have an official documentation for this here. So if you come here, you search, you say Prisma with Next.js, for example. Then Next.js database with Prisma. No, not this one. Let's see. Best practices for instantiating Prisma client with Next.js, right? So they already have like how we need to do it. So we don't need to write all this code. We can just copy it from here now. Then we create a folder here called db. Then inside of here, we create a file called db.ts and just paste in this code inside of here. Then we'll click on save, right? So now let's head back to our server action, right? So now we need to create a new post using the form we have on the front end, right? So we need to do await. Then we call the Prisma client now, pi. We import it from here, prisma.post. As you can see, that's why we run Prisma generate. So the client automatically generates all the typing for our models. Post.create, right? So we call it prisma.post.create. Then we need to pass in the data now. So for our post schema, we need to pass in post title, post content, then the user ID. So for now, we only have one user, right? So let's just use that user ID. So we can just pass it and be able to create a post quickly. So we head over to our actions here, right? So now, basically what we need to do, we specify post title, right? Then we say form data dot get. We want to get this title field here, right? This name field title. So do form data dot get title. Then as what string, right? Then we do post content, as you can see. Then we do form data dot get content as string, right? Yes. Then we need to pass in the user field, right? So we do user. Then for the post we are creating, we need to connect it to a specific user, because one user can have many posts. It's one-to-many relationship. So for every post, we need to tie it to a specific user, right? So we can use the connect here. Then we pass in ID of one, which basically represent the user we already created. But in a real world application, you may want to pass this value based on maybe the login user or whatever, maybe user that is presently logging into your application. You may basically want to just pass in their ID here. But for now, we can just add code it here for now, so we can be able to proceed faster, right? Then we save this. Then what we need to do now, we head over to our form now. We import the action. Say import add post, right? Form action. Then inside of our form action here now, we can then do add post. Let's see if it works. NPX Prisma Studio. Okay. Yep. So we've done with this. Yeah. So now we have no posts in our database, right? So if we head over here, let's try to just get a sample blog post. Let's just see BBC News. Okay, let's get something out of here. Yep. Copy this title. We head over to our application, paste it, and let's just copy maybe the content view here, view of the content. I think this is okay. Then we come over here, paste this, and then it submit, right? But then when we submit it, nothing happened, right? So then let's check our Prisma Studio if our post actually gets created. Yeah, our post gets created. So if we open this one, you can see why we might never, the title. Then if we head over here, why we might never know the tool. Okay. But then there are a couple of issues with this form. When we submit the data, this needs to be cleared, right? So now I've already submitted this post, but then the data is still there and the user might mistakenly hit the submit button again. So this post will get duplicated in our database. So for us to be able to solve that, what we need to do now, let's head over to our action here. Let's head over to our form. So we need to first convert this into a client component. So the interesting thing about Next.js Server Action, it works for both client and server components, so you don't need to worry. Then we need to import useref. So useref is a hook that basically that comes with React that helps us to access HTML elements within our DOM and be able to modify them. So let's just see how it works. So we do import useref from React. Yeah. So we do constant form ref equals to useref, right? Then here we need to define the type. It's basically HTML form, right? Yes. Let me just do HTML form element. Yes, exactly. So what we need to do now, we need to tie this ref to our form, right? So we can be able to access and modify our form. Then we can say ref is equals to then form ref, right? So as you can see, we have one where we can just specify null inside of here for now. Yes. Okay. So yet still this doesn't work yet. If we refresh, we get another title from here. Tick Israel. Then we paste. Then let's just copy some of this text here. Then we hit submit. Same thing, right? We check. We should have 2 now. Yes. But the form is still not cleared. The input on the form are still not cleared. Yeah. So we need to reset the form whenever a submission happens. So to do that, we need to modify this our action here, right? So we add one more curly braces here. They'll click on enter. So we do async here because server action is asynchronous. Then what we need to do, we need to pass in the form data here. Then inside of our add post, we do await add post. Then we pass in the form data here. Then after that, now we need to reset the form after the submission is done. We call the form ref. Then we use .reset .current, sorry, .reset for us to reset the input field when the data is submitted. So let's just refresh, get another story. Copy this one, head over here, we paste it, then get the article. Can just get, then we paste. Now if we hit submit, you see the data gets submitted, then the input gets cleared. So if we refresh, we basically have 3 blog posts now, right? So what we need to do now, we need to add functionality. So when a user click on this add post, it doesn't work right now. We should take them to the add post page where they can be able to like add a new post, right? So for us to be able to do that, we head over to our button component because we need to define an undo click props for it. So we can then pass it at an on-click event. So whenever a user click on our button, we can be able to specify what happened. Undo click. So this basically is a function. Undo click. So we can type it. We say void because it returns nothing. So the return value is void. Then we need to specify the event react dot mouse event, then HTML button, HTML button elements. Yes. Then in here we do on click. Then we say undo click. Oh, misspell. Undo click, right? But this should be optional. Yeah. We save. Then we head over to our navbar, right? So this button now, we want when a user click it, it takes them to the add form page. So we need to import use router from Next.js. From next slash not router but navigation. Yes. So we define our router equals to use router. Then we define a function how to handle the click function on the button. So we can say constant navigate on the node. Then we can just do event. Event, then we do react.mouse event, then HTML button element, right? Then we do event prevent default, that it should not trigger a page reload. Then we say router.push. So the URL will be /post /add post, right? This should be the URL we save. Then here we call undo click, we say navigate, we save. So let's head over to our browser now. Oh, there's an error here. Oh yes, so we need to make this a client component now, this navbar here. So we do use client here. This should work now. Yep. So you click on add post. See, it takes us to the form now. They'll click on blog, add post. Okay. So now what we want to do, we want to get the record we already have in our database to be able to display them to the user. So for us to be able to do that, let's head over to our code editor, pages. Let's head over to our home page, which is this page here. We already have our card here, right? We need to make this an async function, right? So now we need to get our post, right? So we can do constant post equals to await. Then we call prisma dot post dot find many. We want to get all of our posts, but if you are developing an application like this, you need to ensure you only get the posts based on the logged in user, for example. And Prisma already have provision for that. You can run this query, then you pass the user ID that you want to basically get all posts related to a specific user. For now, I'll just get all the posts, right? So I'll just need to do prisma.post.find many to get all the posts, right? Okay. Then we'll save. Then what we need to do next here, we need to look to our posts. We call the .map method. Then we'll get the post object and we'll specify in an index. Then we return here our card. Then we do key, then we just do index. Yep, for now we save. Let's see. See, now we can basically be able to see the posts we have, but then there is one thing we need to solve. We are basically not getting the content here from the database, even though we've already accessed the content. So for us to be able to do this, we need to modify the card component to be able to pass in these props for title, content. Okay. So to do that, okay, we come over to the card component. Props will be title, content, Yes. Then yes. Then here we'll just specify title. Then content. Then we need to type this interface I post. Title is string, then the content is string too, right? So we just call I post here. Then we save this. Then we need to specify. We save this, right? Then inside of our page now here. Card title can be post title. Then content can be post content. Yep. Then for the grid, if you notice here, we need spaces between the cards, right? So we head over here and do cap 4. Let's just see what's happened. You see now, we have the post, we have the title, but then this affects the card. So for us to basically be able to solve this, we need to truncate the text. So the user can just see a little bit of the text, and when they click read more, they can then be able to read the full text. So for us to be able to do that, we go over to the card component here, and then we do on that title we do truncate. We save. Let's just see now. Nice. Exactly. So this is nice. Now you see, so we are basically getting all the blog posts we have on the database. We are basically getting them and displaying them on the front end to the user. Then we can be able to add more posts here. Then when we click on blog, we head over to the blog section as well. So now what we want to do, if a user click on like read more, we basically want to get the title of this post, the content, and just display it to them, right? So for this, we need to have a URL like this post. Then we have the ID of the post, right? So let's head over to our code editor, right? Let me just close this one here. So we already have a folder for post, right? A route for post. So we just need to add an ID here. Then inside, what this does is basically when you go to post / the ID of the post, it basically trigger this URL here under the app router. So we need to add a page here, page.tsx. Then we do export default function post. Then we do return, right? But this URL basically we pass in the post ID as parameter, right? So we need to access. So we need to pass in a params prop here. Then we need to get the navbar in here also. Then we need to type this one, say params. Then the ID we are passing, it's basically a string. Yeah, this is the post ID. So if you check this schema here, the ID we are passing, we are expecting it basically in string format. So that's why we type it as string inside of the this page here. Okay, then we'll save. Then we'll say div class container mx02 mt10 margin top 10. Then what we need to do now, h3, this will just be like a basic page. Post title, then p post content, right? Then this can be class name, text to Excel, the font size, then font family mono. Yep, I think this is okay. Class name text LG, then yep, I think then margin top. I think this is okay for this page, right? So now we need to get the post, right, from our database. So we can say post equals to await. So this needs to be an async function. Await, then we say prisma.post.find unique. We need to import Prisma. Import Prisma, yes, find unique, right? Then we need to specify the ID of the post we want to find, right? Say include, sorry, this should be where, yep, ID. We say params, params.id. We are getting the ID from here, right? Okay. Then now we need to check whether we get this post right. Yeah. Let's just save this first. Then before we do that, let's just loop through here. Cut this content out. Then we do post dot, sorry, we do the post that if post exists, we'll do post title, right? Then same here. If we get a post, then we display the post content, right? Then maybe in case we try to get this, we may want to do an error. If not post, then to new error. This is something we may discuss as well, how to handle error in your Next.js application, right? The post width. Okay. The post width. Then we want to do passing the ID does not exist, right? So what we need to do here, let's use template literals. So we want to basically get the ID if the post does not exist. When we try to get a unique post with this ID, we basically throw this error to the user that the post with ID does not exist, right? Save this. Then now we head over to the browser, right? We've done the page we've done the page wherein if a user click on read more, it should basically take them to the detail of the post, right? So we need to add functionality here. So when the user click on read more, it should basically take them to the specific post, right? So what we need to do then, head over to the home page, this page here. We get the post here. Yes, so what we need to do inside of our card component here, right? We need to pass in an handle click function here, right? So this we can convert it to a client component because we need to use some routing features here. Then we say import use router from next/navigation. They'll say constant router equals to use router, right? Constant, let's see, handle read more. When user click on the read more button, right? What should happen? So maybe content, we should get the ID again here from the card. So not here under this page. Yes, we can just pass in ID of the post, then post.id. Yep, exactly. We'll save here. Then on the card component now, ID, title, we do ID of the post is string. Yep, exactly. So we do events react.mouse events, then HTML button elements. So what we need to do now, we do event.prevent default, so it should not trigger a page reload. Then we do router.push. We want to redirect the user now to the page for a single post, so they can be able to read everything here, which is basically post slash then the ID of the post, right? Which is the ID, sorry, which is just this ID, right? Then this will be now handle read more. Then we click save. Let's just see how it works, right? Okay, so now if I click here, read more, see, it takes me to the individual page for this post, right? You go back, you click here, read more, it takes you to the individual post for this page. You click here, read more, it takes you to the same page, the individual post page, right? So now what we want to do, let's say a user tried to get this ID and try to manipulate something, they click enter. You see, our application basically threw up an error, right? The post with this does not exist here because we specify this error in our application. But then maybe you might need like a custom error page, which developers do all the time, even me. So for you to be able to do that, Next.js already provide a functionality for us to add an error page into our application, so we can be able to handle error and customize them the way we want. For example, let's customize this error page now. So to do that, we come inside of our app directory here. You add a page called error.tsx, right? Export default function error page. Yep, there you go, return. So let's just add the navigation bar here. Now, right, we save. Then let's see if our error page has changed. Let's try to refresh. Okay, nothing happened. Okay. So we need to undo the error, right? This is coming from the error class. Okay, yeah. Now they will do div. We do div. Then we say class name mxo2. Yep. Then we do ht. No, let's do a div. Class, we do flex. We want to center the text at the middle of our page, right? Flex. Justify, we do center. Then item center. Then we have like an ht. Then here, if there is an error, we want to display the error, right? We can just say if there is error, we do ternary operator, we do error message, right? From the error class. Or we pass in a custom message error within the application. What is on here? No. Mining. Error, this should be error. Oh. My mistake. Yep. So interface error, let me see, error class, error type, right? Then you do error here. Nice. So this is okay now. So let's see what our error page look like. We refresh. We still having this one. Let's just see. Okay, let's go back. Oh, we need to do client here. Okay, let's see. Yeah. So now we access this. Let's just pass in an ID that does not exist. We click enter. You see now we are handling the error ourselves. See, so Next.js is basically not storing its custom error page for us, the default error page for us. We are basically handling the error page. So maybe if you can have like a button here, like go back, or for example, or try again. So when the user click on that button, if they are authenticated, like if it go back, it take them to their dashboard. If they are not authenticated, then it take them somewhere. So this is basically how we can handle as well custom errors with Next.js. So I hope this video is helpful, and don't forget to like, share. In case you do have question, also you can comment, then I will respond. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe. Have a great day.